to be the best, simple and plain. That's why I play the game. To be the best, you have to win. And that's what drives me.
He's the best player in the game. It's just that simple.
Yo, what it do, good people? We back with another vid. Need y'all to like, share, and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and spam that comment section. You coming through the door, kick your shoes off, kick your feet up, time to get comfortable. If you with the negative energy, please exit the building. We got Dwaynewade, and he's speaking about this is real life right here. A lot of people don't be knowing nothing about real life experiences. This is real life right here. This is for fair use YouTube, commentary purposes only, fair use.
And so what I had on my kidney was a cyst, a tumor.
Former NBA star Dwaynewade details a shocking health scare, revealing he had a cancerous tumor removed from his kidney. The Hall of Famer shares the story about the health battle on his The Why with Dwaynewade podcast on January 30th, explaining he received the diagnosis after years of putting off going to the doctor for a checkup.
I went in the doctor to look for something else, but because I did the full body scan, they were able to see my entire body, my entire insides, and they were able to see something that was on my kidney, my right kidney, when I went in. Didn't go in for my kidneys. And so what I had on my kidney was a cyst.
He says doctors later informed him he had a tumor on one of his kidneys, which would require surgery.
And that's why it's good to get a checkup. It's good to get a checkup. A lot of people be skeptical because they don't like going to the doctor, especially with what's going on nowadays, but it's good to just get an annual checkup.
I was sitting in the doctor and I just went for physicals, pretty much check on myself. And now I'm in the doctor and the doctor's like, so you need to have kidney surgery. Damn. What? I was coming about this.
That's why it's good to get annual checkups. Exactly.
This little spring. At that moment right there, I mean, obviously I have a decision to make. I get to see everything. I ask all the questions. I go to multiple doctors. I send it to multiple doctors. I do not just go to that one doctor. And so I had a personal decision to make. And what it was, if this is cancerous, if this tumor, if this is cancerous on your kidney, you're 41 years old, you probably need surgery because it's something that needs to be removed so it doesn't spread. I made a decision to have surgery. I had surgery on December 18th, 2023. To find out, obviously at 41 years old, pretty healthy guy, that I did have cancer. Thank God that I did do the surgery, right? Because the tumor was cancerous. So I have one kidney and I have another kidney that is 60%. They took 40% of my kidney to make sure that they can get all the cancer off of it, right? Because if it sits there on your kidney, now it spreads. Now they got to take more and more.
They took 40% of this man's kidney, 40%. And he said this happened in 2023 when he had the surgery. So this shows you a lot of people go through things and they keep quiet about it.
The former Miami Heat star, who's married to actress Gabrielle Union, bears 2 kids with ex-wife Siobhan Funches, a son with Asia Matoyer, and a daughter with Union, explains that his family ultimately helped him through the difficult time.
But I saw in the midst of that and me going through my illness, I saw my family who may not always talk, may not always agree. Right. You know what I mean? Don't always see each other. I saw everybody show up for me and be there for me.
And that's how it's supposed to be. Family supposed to stick together. Family supposed to come together for one another. It's just crazy that this cancer is spreading the way it is, and it's all type of forms of cancer. I'm gonna pray for people who do have cancer. Shout out to Dwaynewade. Hopefully he beat that and he overcome that. Trump is just stomping on y'all, man. He coming in office and he letting it be known what he gonna do. He been saying it. And he taking action on it. A lot of people mad about it, but this is a president that say things and he act on what he's saying. Just period. Actions speak louder than words.
Criticizing President Trump's ban on transgender troops from serving in the military. The CEO of Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America said that the president's order tells service members their sacrifice is not valued. Last night, we spoke to Republican Congressman Dan Crenshaw about this, and he argued also that he believes transgender people are not fit to serve.
I'm saying by definition, if you have transitioned into a different gender, you are not meeting our medical standards.
Right, but that's your opinion.
You're creating, no, it's not an opinion.
But then how are there trans people serving in the military right now? Tonight, the president's latest ban is being challenged in a court in a lawsuit that was brought by 6 transgender service members and 2 transgender individuals who wanted to enlist. My source on this tonight is the U.S. Navy Commander, Emily Schilling, who has done 2 tours of duty in Iraq and Afghanistan as a Navy pilot, was awarded 3 air medals and an award for superior airmanship as well. She transitioned years ago and has since been promoted with merit. She's also the president of Sparta, which is an advocacy organization made of transgender troops. And I want to thank you so much for being here.
Hit that like button, y'all.
This order that came out, and we finally got to read the text of it this morning. You have almost 2 decades in your naval career. What?
You can see it in her face, though. You could definitely see it in her face. Her face, his face.
What is your view of this?
Well, it hit me kind of hard. You know, I've dedicated about 19 and a half years of service. It was my dream to join and fly for the Navy since I was little. I did the 2 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, 60 combat missions. I got a lot of value at it and a lot of self-identity out of it. Later, I went on to be a test pilot and then the meritorious promotions. I have been at the pinnacle of naval aviation. I think I'm proof standing here that, you know, we are qualified to serve.
And when you see this in the language of it, I was reading through this because the congressman and I were kind of going back and forth on this last night, and it says that, quote, an adoption of a gender identity inconsistent with an individual's sex conflicts with a soldier's commitment to an honorable, truthful, and disciplined lifestyle, even in one's personal life. What is it like for you to hear those words?
First off, all I want to do is keep serving. You know, I've done that for almost 20 years. I want to keep going. I have no desire to get.
And that's the thing. If they want to serve, let them serve. I don't feel like it should be no separation. I feel like you should have them on their side, the women on their side, and the men on their side. If they want to serve, let them serve. Just put them in their own little separate area and just leave it at that. Just leave it at that. But, you know, Trump get in and he act a fool.
And the feedback that I've had from prior to transition to after is that it's made me actually a better leader, able to connect with my people more and in a more authentic way because I can meet them wherever they are.
And so when you hear this idea that because you've gone through that you are not fit to serve, as the congressman was stating, saying that you wouldn't be able to be up to the standards. I mean, you know what the standards are and what those requirements are and what that requires from you. What is your response to that?
Okay, well, there's a lot of disinformation out there and a lot of talking points on it, but I'm one of the first naval aviators to regain my flight clearance post-transition. What that means is the Navy was rightfully medically conservative. I'm going to go fly a $100 million aircraft, the F-18, like you saw in Top Gun 2. So they ran me through every psychological evaluation, every physical evaluation they could think of. And at the end of the day, there was no reason to keep me out of the cockpit. You see this with all of the troops that are deployed across the world today, already embedded in combat units. We have lawyers, doctors, special forces, rangers, and they're all there today. If we yank them out, it leaves critical holes that are going to take decades to fill.
So we dug in on this with the congressman. I want you to listen to what he said about that exactly in the test that you do go through.
I know what war is like, and I know what it takes to deploy. I was not allowed to deploy for vision issues. Now, what if you need to be on a bunch of medications and your entire body has been changed radically into another gender? It makes it very difficult to deploy you into the places that we need to deploy you.
You're basically
He using his, might as well say, his handicapness to them being transgender. They not handicapped. They just had a sex change. Like I said, put them on their own side and let them train with their people. And then when it's time to come together, it's different. And everybody come together. But as far as having them on camps with men and women, nah, it shouldn't even be like that. Let them train in their own separate camp. We ain't gonna discriminate against them. But, you know, Trump gonna act a fool. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this in the comment section. We ain't even gonna go too more on that because you already know what type of time Trump on. We're gonna get into this American Airline collision. Y'all hit that like button.
Yeah, we're really close to Reagan National Airport, home to the busiest runway in the country. But it fell silent last night and into this morning after the deadliest plane crash in the U.S. in more than 15 years. Today, in frigid water and with planes flying overhead, officials in the nation's capital are searching for answers.
We will look at the aircraft, we will look at the helicopter, we will look at the environment in which they were operating in.
This video shows the helicopter crashing into the passenger jet around 8:45 last night. Another angle in this EarthCam video. Everyone on board American Airlines Flight 5342 and the Army Black Hawk helicopter are presumed dead. The American jet from Wichita, Kansas cleared for landing after a last-minute but routine runway change. The Army helicopter on its usual path for standard night training, but flying at 350 feet instead of 200. Audio from air traffic control reveals the military.
So why was they flying that high? Was they experienced or inexperienced? We need some answers. We need some answers on that.
It acknowledged he saw the jet approaching the runway. Among the questions, why didn't the helicopter change course?
The helicopter said, we see it and we accept visual separation, meaning that the Black Hawk crew says we will stay away from that helicopter.
President Trump today seeming to agree.
The helicopter obviously was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
He then speculated, without providing evidence, the crash was a result of his predecessor's diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, initiatives involving air traffic controllers.
Are you saying this crash was somehow caused and the result of diversity hiring? And what evidence have you seen to support these claims?
It just could have been. We have a high standard. These are various, very powerful tests that we put to use, and they were terminated by Biden. And Biden went by a standard that's the exact opposite. So we don't know.
So I want to know who was flying the plane. I mean, the helicopter. Who was the two people that was on the helicopter? It was either 2 or 3 people that was on the helicopter. And I guess they was in training. I want to know who was the 3 people that was on the helicopter, because then we can at least get to finding out like the background of those people and understand was they experienced or inexperienced. Because now Trump is saying it got something to do with the DEI, and a lot of people was in an uproar about that. But and like I said, it ain't even February yet, and racism, tragedy, it's just crazy.
He plans to release its preliminary report within the next 30 days. Its final report will not be released until it has completed its investigation. Lauren, Steve, back to you.
How they gonna complete the investigation when it's frigid cold and it's ice in the water? It's so much debris, there's so much stuff they gotta go through just to get to what they're trying to get to do an investigation. This is sad.
Now imagine just missing that flight or working on that airplane the entire day before your shift ended, and hours later, tragedy.
Just imagine the people that flights, I ain't even gonna say that, but just imagine the people that didn't make the flight. Just that didn't make the flight or canceled at the last minute and rebooked to another flight.
Strikes. That is what one young woman from Detroit is dealing with tonight.
She's a flight attendant and worked on that same jet from city to city on Wednesday before handing the job off to the next crew, which included 2 of her most dear friends. She wanted to share her thoughts with Sean Lay, who's at Detroit Metro Airport tonight. Sean?
Her name is Alexis Burgess, guys. I met her right here after she got her flight home after working that long day yesterday on that very jet going city to city. At the very end in Wichita, she said goodbye, have a safe flight to her other crew who are dear friends, only to learn a few hours later of the absolute worst. And she's now coming home with the thought stuck in her head, of course, that could have easily been me.
I don't know whether to be grateful or to break down. I don't know whether to quit or go harder or be strong or be braver, brave for them. I don't know.
Alexis Burgess is stunned. She is in shock. If a flight attendant called in sick on the American Airlines flight from Wichita to Washington, Alexis would not be in her mother's arms here at Detroit Metro today. Burgess is a flight attendant who worked in that same plane all day Wednesday from Philly to Toronto to DC. Her shift ended in Wichita, where she greeted the next crew, Ian Epstein and Denasia Elder. That crew lost their life.
She can't do nothing but from this day forward, wake up every day and thank and appreciate God for waking her up and keeping her alive. Because that lady right there, she got a story to tell.
The last thing that I said to him was, have a safe flight. And the last thing he said to me was, have a good overnight.
Some of Burgess's personal items were still on that plane when it collided with the helicopter and went down.
I'm just in complete disbelief. I didn't even see how it looked. I didn't see the video. I didn't see anything. I just saw a small picture of it in the water. And to know that I worked on there and to see it in pieces like that, I left a water bottle in the back of 21C, and I worked the back. I worked the other flight attendant I worked with. She worked first class. I worked the back. So I'm just thinking about
she can't work
the
first
things
class.
that I left on that plane. The plane is in pieces now.
As a mom with a daughter being a flight attendant, you pray
All jokes aside.
every time she boards until she lands. So
Wait, what she said?
this is very heart-wrenching. This is
She said she do what?
hurtful. Pray every time. Now, as a mom with a daughter being a flight attendant, you pray every time she boards until she lands.
She go tell her to quit though.
So
She
This
can't
is very
tell her what to
heart-wrenching.
do,
This
but
is
she's gonna
very
try to
hurtful.
pressure her.
If I was on reserve and one of those flight attendants got sick or had to stay, then they would have scheduled me to work the flight back to my base. Yes.
That close.
Yes, it is. So I feel like I made it by the skin of my teeth and by the grace of God.
Grace of God, man. That is.
By the grace of God, that is something Alexis is struggling with now. And guys, she shares with me that she absolutely loves her job when she is on a flight working, which she often is about every day. She never thinks about anything but the job. She doesn't think about anything going wrong. She is going to catch her breath, though, and take a few days off, maybe more than a few days off, to deal now with what has happened. At Metro Airport, Sean Lay, Local 4, back to you.
Yeah, Sean, it's so interesting. She's echoing what I'm hearing from some of my friends who are flight attendants too. They love their job, but they're saying this incident and the fallout, the investigation, and what administrators are saying right now certainly has them feeling a little rattled right now.
Scary.
Yeah. Prayers to all the victims.
Tonight, tragedy on the Potomac River. 67 people lost their lives when a Black Hawk helicopter collided with that American Airlines flight with a Charlotte-based crew.
In just the past 90 minutes, we learned that dive teams have stopped the recovery operations along the Potomac for now. Sources telling ABC News they've recovered all of the bodies that they can so far without moving the fuselage. Tonight, the Associated Press is reporting FAA staffing was, quote, not normal in the air traffic control tower at the time of this collision. It comes as the NTSB says it has not recovered any black boxes or flight data reports.
So they blaming it on there wasn't enough staff. I don't care what. When it comes down to something like this, y'all supposed to be overstaffed just in case something like so this could be prevented. Y'all supposed to be overstaffed. They're never supposed to be, because that's basically what they're saying.
Yet. They say it's still too early to tell if this was caused by human error or mechanical error.
Tonight, we have live team coverage from Washington to Charlotte on this tragedy, from the active recovery scene to all the local connections to the tragedy.
First, we want to begin with the Charlotte flight crew, Ian Epstein, Danasia Elder, Sam Lilly, and their pilot, whose name has not yet been released. We're learning about their lives and the loved ones who lost them. Channel 9's Joe Bruno spoke to some of the families. He's joining us live.
She's beautiful.
Well, Ian Epstein was good at every single thing that he did. Before he was beloved flight attendant, he actually sold campers in Concord. And tonight, his former coworkers are remembering him as a man who was larger than life. Ian Epstein shared this photo on Instagram last month with the caption saying he has literally the best life in the world and that he is so lucky. That's how his former coworkers remember him, full of life.
Just a big jokester. He's a happy-go-lucky guy.
And he was gifted. Jennifer Cagle worked with Ian at Camping World in Concord before he became a flight attendant. During his 3 years with Camping World, he became one of the company's top regional salesmen.
He was really very talented in getting people what they wanted. Just making them feel at ease, comfortable, like they were a part of his family.
That's why she wasn't surprised at his decision to become a flight attendant. Technician David Davis says Ian was an adventurer who would go above and beyond for anyone he met.
He just always go the extra mile, to really just help them out.
The news of Ian's passing is as shocking as it is devastating. His former coworkers are keeping his family in their hearts.
When I saw that on Facebook, it was hard to read. Just knowing how happy of a person he was.
Exactly. Because that's all people remember him as. And it's like to lose a person like that, like that's a person you're going to always remember because they were so happy they kept your spirits up. And that's sad.
His family, his kids, his granddaughter is going to miss out on a really good man.
It definitely prayers out to them and everybody else.
His family says Ian was a father, a stepfather, a husband, and a brother. They say they appreciate the outpouring of support and love they have received. Erica.
All right, you can tell that he was such an amazing man. And Joe, you also talked to the family of the other flight attendant on board, Danasia Elder.
Yeah, I had the privilege of speaking to the brother-in-law of Denasia Elder. She's also from Charlotte. She was Ian's flight attendant partner on that flight last night. Her brother-in-law tells me that Denasia loved God, her family, and travel. She leaves behind 2 children, Caden and Dallas. Will share her story on Eyewitness News at 6. We're live at the airport. Joe Bruno, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Thank you, Joe. And finally, this is a photo of Sam Lilly. He was the first officer on board the flight. His father posted on Facebook that Sam was engaged and was scheduled to be married in the fall. We're also working to confirm the identity of the 4th crew member, the pilot. We will tell you about them as soon as we learn more.
No, the family probably don't want them
Now
to
at the
disclose
Potomac
that.
River and the recovery operations, where we're told that they have suspended some of that recovery for now. This map also shows how close that flight was to landing at Reagan Airport. Channel 9's Glenn Counts just arrived near that scene and continues our live team coverage. Glenn?
Well, Scott, we are across the street from Reagan National, as you can see here behind.
Search and rescue teams are still scouring the waters of the Potomac River after a mid-air collision in Washington, D.C. last night. An Army Black Hawk helicopter collided with an American Airlines regional jet.
The airliner carried 64 passengers and crew. 3 soldiers were on board the Army helicopter. Officials report recovering bodies from the river with no sign of survivors. CBN's Wendy Griffith has more.
A live stream from an EarthCam web camera capturing the moment of impact. A fireball lighting up the sky. Both aircraft then crashing into the Potomac River, making rescue efforts difficult.
The water that we're operating in is about 8 feet deep. There is wind, there is pieces of ice out there, so it's just dangerous and hard to work in.
CBN's John Jessup on the scene at Reagan National after the crash.
The collision's ground stop brought what's usually a busy and bustling airport to a standstill. I've lived in Washington for 20 years and I've never seen Washington Reagan Airport quite like this. The mood here, eerily quiet and incredibly somber as the search and rescue operation continues.
Authorities say the jet was inbound from Wichita, Kansas, and making its final approach to Reagan with 60 passengers and 4 crew members on board. Officials say 3 Army soldiers were on the Black Hawk. Ari Schulman was driving home when he looked up and saw the plane falling from the sky.
It was illuminated bright yellow underneath, and there was a spray of sparks on the underside of the plane, and I knew something was wrong.
Emergency personnel rushing to the scene. Overnight, officials scrambling boats and divers in the darkness, hoping to pull any possible survivors out of the frigid water. The investigation now underway as officials try to determine what happened. The mayor of Wichita asking for prayer.
We really want to ask each and every Wichitan, Kansan, and American to pray for everyone involved in this incident.
The CEO of Reagan National Airport says they've been providing support to the families impacted by this tragedy. The airport will be closed until later today. Wendy Griffith, CBN News.
Well, CBN News anchor John Jessup is at Reagan National Airport. He joins us now. So, John, what can you tell me about the victims of this horrible tragedy?
Yeah, it's as you said, just horrible. There are 64 victims as far as the passengers and crew on the plane, 60 passengers who were on that flight, that regional airline from Wichita. Final destination here at Washington Reagan National Airport with 4 crew members. And then there were 3 U.S. Army soldiers who were aboard that Black Hawk helicopter that was on a training mission. We don't have a lot of information right now. What I can say as far as the recovery, 28 bodies officially have been recovered. There's some disparity on the numbers, but we found out this morning during the press conference, the fire chief letting us know that the official body count is determined by bodies in possession by the medical examiner's office. So right now, the medical examiners only have 28 bodies. Some of the people that have been identified, we only know through statements, public statements being made. So there was a World Figure Skating Championship in Wichita recently.
Just imagine, there's still bodies just floating in the frigid water. Pray for the families. Pray for the families.
And the U.S. figure skating community has lost members of that community, and 2 Russian nationals have been identified, potentially coaches who were coaching their son as well, potentially involved in this horrific accident.
What can you tell us about how the accident happened? I've got to ask the question, why is the Army doing a training exercise on an active pathway for landing? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, you know, you hit on a really good point. What's hard to understand about this particular airport, which serves the Washington metropolitan area, it is the closest to the District of Columbia. It sits in Virginia, but literally you can hop on the interstate and be in downtown DC within 5 minutes. The issue is there are a lot of jurisdictions here. You have the military, you have commercial flights, and what we're learning is that both the commercial flight 5342, and the military helicopter were both doing what they normally do. They were flying their standard flight patterns. What we can't figure out is why they collided. Those questions still remain. The investigation will hopefully answer some of those questions, but right now where their focus is on recovering the bodies of the victims. Again, 67 people total, and the fire chief said that will probably take days.
Well, how about the search and rescue teams? It's got to be absolutely incredible for them. You're dealing with water that induces hypothermia. How are they going to be able to operate in these kinds of conditions?
Yeah, wonderful question. So there are about 300 responders that were here at the height of the search and rescue, activated last night at about 8:48 Eastern time here local. That was when the control tower issued the alert that there was an accident. As you said, divers were in the water. And let me tell you what I understand about the water conditions and the conditions weather-wise yesterday. The water temperature was about 35 degrees, which according to one of the local meteorologists here, as they were trying to explain, that a person submerged in that kind of water at that temperature, the transfer rate of body heat is 25 times faster than just air. So you could be in the water for about 3 minutes and then begin to lose dexterity with your fingers, with your hands and your arms and your limbs. And you can just imagine how quickly after that you lose the ability to respond. As far as these first responders, again, about 300 divers, all jurisdictions, state, federal. And what you just hinted at is this is it's carnage. They've had to search in dark, murky water that some portions of the Potomac River are still covered in ice from the winter weather that we just had a few days ago. So that's made the search very difficult. I should also mention that the fuselage of the plane has been split into 3 separate parts. So they're having to really touch and feel, as the fire chief mentioned, their way through the debris field. So it's going to take a long time. And for these folks, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to process. He did mention that they have care teams that are already in contact with a lot of the responders to help them process and navigate what they're going through.
John?
Yeah, that's just sad. Give me 1 second, y'all. 1 second. One second, y'all. 1 second.
Do you have a plan to go visit the site or meet with any of
I have a plan to visit not the site because you tell me what's the site, the water?
or to meet with the first responders down there?
I have a plan to do that, but I will be meeting with some people that were very badly hurt with their family member, obviously, but I'll be meeting with some of the families.
Somebody gonna put here asshole. I know they're gonna say he an asshole for saying that. He said he'd rather meet with the family members than meet. He know what he's saying though. People gonna take it the wrong way. But Trump an asshole. Yeah, pray for them family members though. 2 or 3 identified as victims that were aboard the Black Hawk helicopter in the tragic DC plane crash. The Army says the crew members were very experienced. Oh, so they was experienced. So what happened? We need a deep investigation on that. Continuing to be identified, their loved ones are notified. The Army Black Hawk helicopter consisted of a crew of 3, a pilot, a co-pilot, and a crew chief. Andrew Eves was from Mississippi. Okay. The third member has not yet been identified. As the talk of DI has arisen in the conversation surrounding the devastating incident, the Army made it clear that all crew members were very experienced. They noted that they had hundreds of thousands of hours of flight time, which is a lot of helicopters that aren't in the air long. The flight was a routine training mission. But why was they up so high in the sky? And why was they supposed to have been 200 feet and they was 300 feet? And why was they above the runway? Something don't sound right with that.
You guys come in. We want to see the water. No, we want to see the water. Yeah, no. According to you guys too. Let me see your badge number. No. Let me see. No, we need to see your water. We don't put me in there. Walk out.
Doorbell video shows family members outside in handcuffs as the task force searched the house. They didn't find the fugitive, but they did encounter 44-year-old Raul Lopez, a father of 4, living in the country illegally. A task force spokesperson tells WGN News ICE is a part of the team and was there on scene. ICE removed Lopez from the house.
It's a lot of people that I deliver mail to, and I know for a fact they not here with legal rights. I already know, but I'm just saying. But for them to put them out like that and embarrass them in front of everybody, I can understand that, especially in the cold. So I don't agree with that, but that's just they process of how they do everything.
After finding him hiding in an attic.
And we were just asking him, why are you taking him?
Betsy Lopez is 18. Her dad is a roofer, working to put her through nursing school.
His whole life, he's just been working, telling us that he just wants his best for us, to work for us, and just give us everything he can so we can be good. And so not everyone is bad. Like some people do try to come here just to give a good.
That's sad. Because the children don't got nothing to do with what the family, what the mother and father got going on. The children ain't no criminals. And they got to be swept up and be a part of that bullshit. Civil rights attorney, former Miss Kansas contested, and Michelle Obama intern Kaya Duggins identified as one of the 60 passengers in the American Airlines plane crash. Damn, she was on her way to be a law professor at Howard University. Damn, rest in peace to her. I knew somebody was gonna put it. They said I knew there were key people of significance on that plane. This was no accident. Maybe I watched too much Scandal, but something very odd about this entire tragic loss. Ain't lying about that one. Yeah, everybody's saying basically the same thing in the comments. I feel like somebody was targeted on that plane. They're not gonna identify who all was on that plane. Yeah. American Airline flight crew identified. It's sad, man. Oh, this the captain right here. Okay, Jonathan. Yeah, man. I watch too much TV and movies to to even think like how they want me to think about this shit.
Second for your signature, we have a presidential memorandum titled Immediate Assessment of Aviation Safety. In light of the damage done to aviation safety by the Biden administration's DEI and woke policies, what this presidential memorandum orders is for your Secretary of Transportation and FAA administrator, in this case, acting FAA administrator, to basically ensure that we are actively undoing all of that damage, that we are assessing how much damage was done, and that we're ensuring that people hired within the FAA, in keeping with your memorandum of January 21st, are only the most outstanding, capable people for the jobs that they're being hired into.
In other words, competence.
Yes, sir. Elevating competence over everything else instead of the DEI policies that were pursued by the Biden administration.
I think everyone understands that. And Obama.
Yes.
Both of them. Okay, but Biden much worse. Not even a contest. What they've done is just crazy in so many other ways. Okay.
Sophie. Jenny Marley.
Want to make checks on the furniture that you came with. Is that correct?
I want to do my walkthrough. That's the court order. Let me do my walkthrough, and what I'm personally checking for is my belongings. I moved my whole life from Los Angeles to here. I also had a baby here. I lived in this house. I decorated this whole house. So yes, I absolutely want to make sure that my things are taken with me as
In
I
addition to what's packed up.
I want to make sure. I can't say for addition. You might be right. He might have packed everything for me, but I deserve a walkthrough because of court order. So that's what I'm here for.
Okay.
I'm not saying I'm going to, I might walk out empty handed. I just want to make sure that my house that I know is coming with me.
Okay.
And so it's leaving with just his house being his.
Yeah.
That I can tell which items are in each house, which is fine. I just want you to know if
This is what you call a bitter woman. I'm sorry. This is a bitter woman.
takes me a while to understand why, because I can't point out.
All day. No, you probably don't have all day, but whatever it takes to.
She probably got a blender and a toaster. That's it. And she crying about that. Probably a few pair of underwears and a sweater and a Balenciaga jacket. She ain't got too much up in there. That's what you call the bitter baby mother. The bitter baby mother.
Almost upon entering office, I signed something last week that was an executive order, very powerful on restoring the highest standards of air traffic controllers and others, by the way. Then my administration will set the highest possible bar for aviation safety. We have to have our smartest people. It doesn't matter what they look like, how they speak, who they are. It matters intellect, talent, the word talent. They have to be talented, naturally talented geniuses. You can't have regular people doing that job. They won't be able to do it. But we'll restore faith in American air travel. I'll have more to say about that. I do want to point out that various articles that appeared prior to my entering office, and here's one. The FAA's diversity push includes focus on hiring people with severe intellectual and psychiatric disabilities. That is amazing. And then it says FAA says people with severe disabilities are most underrepresented segment of the workforce, and they want them in, and they want them, they can be air traffic controllers. I don't think so. This was in January 14th, so that was a week before I entered office. They put a big push to put diversity into the FAA's program. And then another article, the Federal Aviation Administration, this was before I got to office, recently, second term. The FAA is actively recruiting workers who suffer severe intellectual disabilities, psychiatric problems, and other mental and physical conditions under a diversity and inclusion hiring initiative spelled out on the agency's website. Can you imagine? These are people that are, I mean, actually, their lives are shortened because of the stress that they have. Brilliant people have to be in those positions, and their lives are actually shortened, very substantially shortened because of the stress, where you have many, many planes coming into one target. And you need a very special talent and a very special genius to be able to do it. Targeted disabilities are those disabilities that the federal government, as a matter of policy, has identified for special emphasis in recruitment and hiring. The FAA's website states they include hearing, vision, missing extremities, partial paralysis, complete paralysis, epilepsy, severe intellectual disability, psychiatric disability, and dwarfism, all qualify.
I'm just sick and tired of people talking about he trying to bring back racism. But y'all keep spewing that and putting that into the air. Y'all bringing that up and y'all putting that out there. He ain't said nothing about no racism. We supposed to wake up, do what we've been doing, make our money, and live our life. Shouldn't be thinking about no damn racism. But y'all like, share, and subscribe, and let me know what y'all think about this, because a lot of this don't make sense. A lot of this not adding up. Trump just did the executive order last week about the aviation, and then this happens. What is this? There's a lot of strange stuff going on. 2025. I said it ain't even February yet, and we going through this nonsense. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end it on that note. Y'all like, share, and subscribe, hit that notification bell. We the People TV. Go.